Alright, they hold your house together, they make everything possible, basically. Everything that you have is put together, and these are one of the many things that will hold your stuff together without letting it fall apart. And what I'm talking about is screws. And screws are an important tool that use simple physics to accomplish a task that has been part of human history since 428 BC. And so I'm going to talk about the history, the manufacturing, and why screws are so important to us today. So here's what they did in 428 BC. They used screws like this to get olive oil out of olives. And they would put a bucket down here and put olives in there, and the screw would push it and make all the juice come out of the olives to make olive oil. And that was a big thing back then because then they didn't have to like mush them all by themselves, and it was a lot faster. So they've been a big part of our history for a long time, and they help us accomplish a lot of tasks. And screws today are a lot different than screws back then because we use screws for a lot more than getting olive oil out of olives. We use them from building to enjoying woodworking and other things. So these are what screws look like today, a lot different than what they looked like before. And they changed a lot, and they basically evolved over time, as you can tell. And before we start talking about manufacturing, we have to talk about the kinds of screws. So there's this screw, and as you can tell, it doesn't have threads that go all the way to the top. That's called a partially threaded screw, and if the threads go all the way to the top, it's a fully threaded screw, and they get manufactured basically the same. This is raw material for screws. It comes in big bundles, and what they do is they take the end of it and they pull it out. When they pull it out, they cut it to the desired length. And they do it this way because there's virtually no waste to a screw, and so they can maximize how many screws they can make per this one bundle. And they do three things to make a screw. The first thing they're going to do is put the head on the screw, and to do that, they do a thing called cold heading, and it's where they cut this, it's already the desired length, and they pull it, and they get it really, and it's in a cold state basically, and they forge it, extrude it, in a thing called upsetting, and when they pull this out, they take a die, which is basically a tool, and they push it against the end of this, and it pushes the head of the screw, and makes you be able to see like the top of the screw, the head of the screw. And after they do that, they take it to another die. And so the head's already on it, and it's at another die, and then they put the feature on it. And some of the features they can do are like flat ones, or they can do fill-up ones, and they just basically have all different designs to accomplish different tasks. And these are the different heads that it can do based on what kind of die they're using and how they're doing it. If it's a complicated design, then it can take more than one step to forge a screw. If it's relatively easy, it can be done in less steps. After they put the head on the screw, then they will coat the screw with a coating, like galvanize it to make it stronger, weatherproof. Or if they leave it the same, that would be like interior screws that aren't going to need to get weathered, won't rust, and stuff along that lines. One of the last things we're going to talk about is why screws are important today. Why not just use nails? Nails, when you're using a nail, they can pull out after long periods of time, so then you'll have to redo them. Screws are threaded in there, so you'll have to twist them to get them back out, and most stuff doesn't just twist its way apart. So there's a big benefit there between screws and nails. And so that is why screws are so important to us and what they've helped us accomplish through all the years. So, I mean, screws are an important tool that use simple physics. It's just a pin has a pitch, and threads just wrap around it to hold it in place. And they've been around forever, since 428 BC, and they hold basically everything together and help us accomplish tasks. And that's why I believe screws are one of the things that's helped us become what we are today.